And in order to accommodate, they were all getting along, and they were retired. They weren't working anymore. They had them all picked up with limos at their home and brought them to the studio so that they could do this. And to see them and talk to them, and when they met with each other, it was marvelous.
Hi, I'm Rob Word. Welcome to A Word on Westerns. And you know, I love Westerns. That's why I'm here, and that's why our guest is here, because she's made some of the greatest ones. One of them, an episode of Gunsmoke with Quint Asper. That's right, Burt Reynolds. And our guest is Audrey Dalton. Audrey, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, that episode that you did with Burt Reynolds, Quint Asper, is terrific. You're an Eastern lady who's looking down on Burt because he's a half-breed. You're held up in a stagecoach by Jack Lambert, one of the great villains, and Don Radberry, and they want to take you and sell you into a white prostitution ring.
Right.
But Burt Reynolds comes along and saves you. Gosh, that was a good episode. It was, I think, his best episode on all of the Gunsmokes.
And it had a great script. You know, the whole idea was fresh and something a little bit different.
I think Andy McLaughlin directed that too.
Yes.
So that was one where you started off in one of those great-looking, sexy outfits with the tiny waist and everything, and then you are disguised as a Native American to get
through this plot. Yes, yeah, with Burt Reynolds.
What was Burt like at that time?
Super guy, fun. He talked a great deal about other things than acting and other parts of his life and whatever. And, you know, when we talk off the set, working with him was fun. He always had that marvelous twinkle in his eye.
Well, that episode, The Renegades, had a lot of great action in it, too, and Hal Needham doubled Burt all through it, and all the action scenes. They looked a lot alike.
Well, I mean, Alan Ladd had a double too, you know. So, and for some of the scenes, it was not worth it for the producers to lose an actor to injuries when they were shooting on those tight schedules.
Did you see the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Quentin Tarantino did?
Yes.
Well, that relationship between Brad Pitt and Leonardo is Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham.
Yeah, it wasn't it? Yes, you're right.
So
you're
now
right.
thinking back at that film,
they were very close, though. I think mostly it was a business-like arrangement, you know.
Well, I think Hal left his wife and moved in with Burt.
They were
and
friends.
Stayed for like 3 years.
Oh, swell! Right.
Maybe longer.
The housekeeper, guess, didn't know the rules. So.
Yeah. No. So, but they really worked well together.
It was very well done. When they did it, you got to watch the cuts to see where it changes. Yeah.
Well, and you did a lot of your writing, I think, in that episode. You know, disguised.
Well, stuff where you can see that it's me, and then, as always, faraway shots. But I have not had a smooth relationship with horses. I was always frightened of them, and learned through doing many westerns to ride side saddle, bareback. And Western saddle and English saddle, and the mounting is different.
And it's a lot slipperier too.
Yes, indeed. And I will tell you and it was not on Gunsmoke, but on another Western where I was riding down a slope with a horse. And horses, I never quite believed were as sure-footed as they are, but they are. But anyway, it was very down, and I was very nervous on this Western saddle, so I came down hanging on to the saddle horn without really being aware. And when I got to the bottom, the directors they were laughing, and they said, "Could we do that again?" As I came down, and apparently with my eyes shut. So I learned not to do that, and to get to be more comfortable, you know. And as I said, rely on the wrangler to help me. And the first thing I do on a Western set when I had to do writing was find out who the wrangler who would be in charge of my horse was going to be, and then in close-ups, of the horse, which tended to be after the master shot during the day and so on, toward the sunset. And the horses have a time they want to go back to the stable, and they know it's getting dark, and they don't care about daylight savings.
They don't get overtime.
They get restless. They fidget, one thing to the other. And the way that the wranglers can calm them down, they sort of squat down and out of camera and just stroke their tails, the long tails, just sort of pull, and this soothes the horse. And they would do that when we were shooting so that he was not fidgety, because I would get so nervous.
Especially if you had lines to deliver,
well,
too.
Well, yes, you're acting a part. But I did a lot of it. I got used to it, and met a lot of nice people that way and wonderful people to work with. But I have to confess, I'm not a great rider.
Well, movie horses, the good ones, are really hard to come by. Jimmy Stewart had one, Pie, that was owned by Hal Needham.
Oh, really? Oh, well, then. Oh, that's
And this right here, this is Ben Jonson on Blackie, his horse. And you see Ben riding Blackie in several films. Hang Him High, he comes down to rescue Clint and cut him down from being hung.
What a treasure. It's beautiful.
Jimmy Don Cox, a dear friend, made that, and he was a painter as well. And it's like Ben is here with me. And he calls this a pair of aces.
Oh, nice.
It's terrific.
Nice.
Terrific.
Yeah, that really is nice.
Another favorite of so many people is Wild Wild West, and I know you played Boris Karloff's daughter in one of those episodes.
That was really interesting, and I remember it well for several reasons. For, of course, working with Boris Karloff, and there's no other way to say it, just a dear, sweet man. His wife, he was in bad health at the time, many years before he died, and his wife always was with him on the set. And he drank tea, and she made it for him on the set. And always, every crew that he worked with was so considerate of him, and the pace sort of slowed down a little bit to accommodate him. He was a lovely man. The other reason I remember it is that I had to walk 2 cheetahs on a leash, on leashes, and that was a big deal on the set, because I heard from them at the time they can be very temperamental, and so they were with the trainer and all of this, and the closed set and the big cages, and nobody had to step out of line or make loud noises or all of that on the set. And it was, it was interesting.
Did they let you sort of meet the cheetahs first so that...
No.
They just said, "Here, you're
no
on."
Contact. No. And then move along, and they're at the ready. Although, I have heard since that cheetahs are quite amiable. They're not as like a tiger or whatever, but we didn't know that then. No one on the set seemed to know it, or the trainer didn't imply it. We had to be very careful.
Had they fed them first?
They must have, yes. But it was fun, and just to that image, and actually walking these, and they're so beautiful.
Yes,
they're so beautiful.
Wild Wild West was such a fun show. It was James Bond out west. What was Robert Conrad like? I know he claimed to do all of his own stunts.
That's what I've heard, and I presume he did. But that there weren't many involved. I'm trying to remember the flow of the story apart from what I've told
the cheetahs.
With the cheetahs and Boris Karloff. But yes, he did. He was, young and agile and in good physical shape, so I'm sure he did. He took,
Well, another Boris Karloff show, his classic series Thriller, you were in one of the most frightening ones where you're an Irish lass, a mail-order bride. You come to marry Warren Oates. You married Warren Oates.
Yes.
And you kill his father, Denver Pyle.
Oh, that was not nice.
Oh,
no. Yes. That it was spooky. I mean, I saw it, and at the time, it was that, thing. You could see how it was going to come over as a little
the
creepy.
Scarecrow, you put the body, Denver Pile's
How
body,
about that?
and a scarecrow.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty good. That's as good as Alfred Hitchcock used to tell a story about, how he loved these murder mysteries and the whodunits and all of this sort of stuff. And his idea of the perfect crime would be a woman kills her husband with a frozen leg of lamb and then cooks it in the oven, and so the evidence is gone. So yes, the scarecrow would have been pretty good.
Oh, that was a scary one. Now, two of the greatest character actors working, Warren Oates and Denver Pyle, what were they like?
Pros, professionals. I can't remember anyone working who I would care to mention that was not professional on the set. You come prepared and ready, and they were pros, and, you come do your job.
Yeah.
You do your job.
Yeah, because they're moving so fast.
Yes, indeed. They had so many setups a day.
Those were great shows, though.
Yes. And working with the same people in Westerns, too, the same actors who'd move from one thing to another, and so you'd interact with them many times during the year doing different shows. Yeah.
You did a feature called The Bounty Killer that seemed to have more Western stars than any other B-plus Western around. Rod Cameron and Bronco Billy Anderson, Johnny Mac Brown.
Buster Crabbe.
Buster Crabbe.
Yeah.
What was that like?
And Knight, Fuzzy Knight.
Oh, yes. You got to have a sidekick.
That was my design, but that was, planned. And in order to accommodate, they were all getting along, and they were retired. They weren't working anymore. They had them all picked up with limos at their home and brought them to the studio so that they could do this. And to see them and talk to them, and when they met with each other, it was marvelous. The stories they tell, the camaraderie between them, and of course the stories got better and better as the day went on. But because memories sort of clicked into place. But they were wonderful, and they got such a kick out of them working again.
Oh, I'll bet they did.
So, yeah, that was wonderful. That was a great part of that.
And Dan Duryea was in that, too, I think.
Oh, yes.
And he's the one who became the bounty killer. He's a dude from the East, Rod Cameron.
Yes.
Who's a gunslinger, and I think teaches Dan Duryea some tricks of the trade.
Yeah, I was in awe.
Yes.
Really, they were marvelous.
Well, then, when you were growing up in Ireland, did they have westerns, American westerns, showing there?
Of course, yeah. Last of the Mohicans.
With Randolph Scott.
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, Saturday afternoon matinees. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. No, they're distributed worldwide, I guess. Yeah.
Tell me what your feelings are about Randolph Scott.
Oh, just watching it, to see the movie and the horses, it was just unreal. I mean, that's so far from life in Ireland, even though I was in the big city. I was born in Dublin, but it was a whole different world, And when I went back on one visit many, many years later after I'd been here, my brother-in-law wanted nothing else except a big Stetson hat, which I carried with great care on the airplane for him, yes.
Were you able to keep any costumes on these films? They didn't do that?
No. In the days when I worked, Westerns, costumes were supplied, always. In modern day dress, you had to supply your own mostly, which I did. But now I know that they do allow you to have it, or sometimes.
Or
depends.
buy it.
First, or buy it,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, wonderful outfits and whatever. But no, it was always the costumes. And the studios had enormous wardrobe departments. I know Western costume clothed a lot of the extras and many roles also, but each studio, Paramount and Fox and MGM, all had these huge wardrobe departments.
And you'd hear stories of actors and actresses trying on something and then looking at the label and go, oh my goodness, Clark Gable wore this jacket.
Yes. And for movies like Titanic and Rachel and Fox, Dorothy Jenkins was the designer there at the time, and she designed all those beautiful costumes that I loved. Those.
Yeah. I think that film won some Academy Awards too, didn't it?
Yes, yes it did. Yes, it did.
Well, what is it about the Western genre that you think makes it resonate today? Because it seems like right now there's a resurgence in
That's
Westerns.
what I hear, yes, yeah. There are several
Why?
on the channel. I think because you know what to expect. It's relaxing. It's entertainment without getting all wrought up about it. The good guys are going to win. And yeah, I think it's just pure entertainment. No violence and no car chases, maybe.
No violence.
Well, it wasn't, I mean, it didn't convince you as like now it can become very real with the guns and that. But it was more play acting. I don't know, you knew it was a movie.
What have you heard about that incident with Alec Baldwin in the movie Rust?
Well, yes. Well, like just what everybody else has heard. I cannot imagine how it happened. I cannot imagine how it happened. I've worked with a gun at Fox on a modern series, an episode, handling a gun. And I mean, there's no question. And I don't know how live ammunition could even be on a set.
No.
Now, this was not a shoot 'em up, but I had a gun and I went, you know, and guess I did that a couple of times, you know, with a gun, and kill somebody or threaten somebody with it in the role. But it was, there was never any question that it was loaded.
No. Do you think in the days when all those Westerns were going on with all the guns and armor, that they were more careful back then than they are today? What is the difference between that era of filmmaking and filmmaking today?
I wish I knew, because in the era I worked, there's no, it just couldn't happen. It just is. I've heard just like everybody else has and read, and who knows? It's a terrible, terrible tragedy for everyone concerned.
Yes.
For everyone concerned.
Well, Audrey, I want to thank you for joining us. You are a delight, and I'm thrilled to have you. I knew when Larry Floyd told me I was going to be interviewing you in Williamsburg at the film festival there last fall.
Oh, that was fun, yeah.
And then I started to research your filmography and got even more excited. So,
well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for driving up.
It was a great life.
And you've shared it with all of us, so thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.